Let's start today's revision lecture, the psychosocial aspects of terrorism. But before starting this lecture, please let me know what are the different difficulties that you guys are facing while studying this topic, as this topic is not much complex and even not involving the scientific terms. So please first let me know that from which perspective you want to study it, either from paper attempting side or either the whole topic as a revision or what else. Why there are only 96 participants so far? Okay, what else? Okay, then first let me know that why reading the psychosocial aspects of such a topic, that terrorism is important for you guys. Why it's included in the syllabus? All of you are there or not? Okay, and what else? I guess rest of the people are either sleeping or they are not actively participating in the discussion. Ah, you cannot understand what's going on in the head of a terrorist or who is terrorist. It's very difficult because these people have a very strong defense mechanism. They are trained in this way that it's very rare that we can identify them. Although we can identify the provoking factors, yes, we can identify easily the you convert any person into a terrorist. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's start this topic. As the number of participants are very less, it's a first lecture. Okay, so why this society suddenly become the war society, or why this society suddenly turned itself, that society itself harming the people? You know the reason? Oppression by powerful. Yes, what else? Okay, rights, I guess, are also not being fulfilled. If you talk about, let's say, 40 years back, there was also the rule of powerful. It's the same thing. Yes, you're close to it. Actually, the war situation has been drastically modified from the battlefield towards the fifth generation war. So now no country can afford a battlefield war because everyone have the weapons, everyone has the technology. So what they do is did that, they modified the way that we fought the war. So that was the terrorism is a sort of the fifth generation war that you guys should not do anything physically, do not hurt any of your enemies, but rather than you can spread the fear, rather than you can exploit the emotions of your enemy nation. You can exploit the freedom, so-called freedom. You can do it easily via the Facebook while sitting in your own country. So the way of war has been changed. War is an unavoidable situation in the human cultures. If we see a little bit, if I talk about a little bit about the history, or if you guys have read the history, then you must be aware of it. My voice is clear or not? Is everyone can listen, or I'm just talking to myself? Okay, just a minute. Now it's clear. Please write it down if I'm clear or not. Okay, that's good. So, what I was talking about, that the way of we fought war, this has been changed from the battlefield towards the fifth generation war, which is a war of the ideology, basically, which is the war of the emotions, which is the war of the war with the human psychology. That's why terrorism become more prevalent in the last 2 decades, or in the last last 2 decades, especially after the this new century, the 2000s, 21st century. Okay, so that's why being a medical professionals, it is also extremely important to know the psychology, or know the basic the social perspectives of this new ideology, and that is the terrorism. Otherwise, all other things, that the attempt to gain the freedom, the westernism, it is prevalent also in 90s. They fought the freedom in advance than us. But this new type of ideology, the terrorism, to spread fear, to exploit the emotions. Terrorism is not about the bomb blasting. Terrorism is not about the gun culture. Terrorism is all about exploiting a human being in any way, in the name of anything. You know. So, to study this topic is we have a little bit relevance with our field, as we are directly the healthcare providers. So one must be aware about the psychosocial different perspectives of the terrorism. So let's start it. Obviously, it's a revision lecture, so we will focus more on how the questions will come, how the question will pop up in the exam, and how you should attempt it. So to attempt this, I knew that this topic is a little bit confused topic as compared to, as like the rest of the other topics of the section E. As while studying the section E, I always taught you guys that all of the topics you will. It appears that seems that all of the topics are like similar topics, but they are different in fact. So while studying this topic, there are three aspects of terrorism. First is understanding what it is. Secondly, we have to study that what are the psychosocial aspects of terrorism related to a terrorist, or related to a person who is going to undergo this terrorist attack. And the third perspective is that what would be the role of a healthcare professional if the terrorist activity has been pursued, or if the terrorist attack happened, right? So for the exam point of view, these three aspects would be important. Okay, so far, is it clear or not? Okay, that's good. Is it clear for the rest of other people? Okay, that's good. For a revision lecture, it is very important to be connected with each other. As I knew that there are boundaries of this, home teaching, but I will request all of you that as you guys are doing revision, so let's not waste our time, right? So please be connected, and let's see what it is. Okay, obviously a strategy, a powerful, fearful strategy. If you have to control the emotions of the people, if you have to generate the sphere panic, then the humans are only afraid by one thing, which is the death. So all those industries which are related directly with the death, they always bloom. If you just check the history, like the industry of the war, like the industry of the medical professional, that is medical, among the medical professions, those professions that deal directly with the death and the life, they are always in demand, like the surgery, like the emergency medicine, etc. So death is basically the basic instinct of human beings. We always, as per the Freud's theory, we always walk away from the death and we always try to move towards the life. So that was the theory of the Mr. Freud. You guys have already studied it. He called it as the basic instinct of the human being to walk away from the death and to walk towards the life. So basically, the terrorism, we defined it as a violent, a powerful, and a fearful strategy. Why it should be violent? It should be violent so that so that it must it must transfer the right message. If if it is not a violent activity, then it will not highlight the death or the fear of the death among the people. So that's why we added the word of the violence. Violence with the powerful, so that it can walk at a sufficient distance, and a fearful strategy, right? So please keep in mind that while studying the terrorism topic, it is not, yes, obviously it leaves impact on the minds of people. Absolutely. If it's not violent, then obviously it will not, generate the impact of this magnitude. For example, nowadays you can label the coronavirus as a terrorism. If let's say it's not genetically muted, let's say it's generated in a laboratory, then you can label it as a terrorism. You can label the money skimming scams as a terrorism activity, that it generates so much, yes, the bioterrorism, exactly, that it generates so much panic among the people that they will left the plastic money, right? If the ATM scams, if the online transaction scams are so much common, right? So please, while studying this topic, don't focus on the bomb blastings and etc etc. Obviously those sort of physical violence is obviously the most extreme violence type. So in the paper, while writing the definition of this terrorism, three words should be used: violent, powerful, and the fearful. Always remember one thing while attempting any exam of either the behavioral sciences or either the pharmacology, the definition must contain the keywords. Otherwise, there is no use of this definition thing. So, for to define this terrorism thing, we should use the three words: a violent, a powerful, and a fearful strategy. Got it? Okay. And let's say if the question came that what are the different aims? So it obviously aimed to generate the fear, it obviously aimed to generate the panic, to the insecurity, helplessness, hopelessness, and the mistrust. You can define the aims if you have the clear definition of anything in your mind, right? For example, what is the aim of doing the community sampling? Can anyone write it down here? What are the different why we are doing the community sampling? Or what is the aim of doing the postmortem as per the forensic? Anyone knows it? Yes, good enough. So in the similar way, if you knew the this terrorism definition and clear in your mind, then you can write the aims on your own, right? Yes, good, good. So the next slide is just an extension of the previous slide. That is, as we said that as we earlier defined it, that the terrorism is something which should be the violent, which should be fearful, and which should, transform the emotions of people into a more fearful way, right? Which should highlight the negative emotions of people. So obviously, now just read this slide that is written, a tool which can challenge, which can destabilize. Obviously, where there are the negative emotions, automatically there is no need of the physical war. There is no need to invade any country, right? If the people, let's say, if you generate a strategy with just highlight the emotion of the paranoia or the paranoid, that the people are become so much paranoid that they don't have the trust on the one another, then ultimately you will generate the anxiety. Ultimately you highlighted the emotion of the depression. You made the people prone to the negative things. So that's why it's written here that a country's reaction towards a terrorist activity, it can either highlight it or it can either deal with it, right? Obviously media is the only tool from which we all of us are connected. Either it can be a social media, or it can be a press media, it can be a print media, etc., or it can be an electronic media. Because now the world is so much vast that we cannot just a minute, just a minute. Okay, so hopefully the slide is clear. Now, what I said earlier, while studying this topic, as per the exam guidelines, you have to consider it at the three levels. One is the definition, the cause, what damage a terrorism activity can produce, and in a nutshell, a terrorist activity is aimed to just modify, to just engineer the emotions of the people. And the chief aim of this terrorism activity always is just to highlight the negative emotions, just to generate the panic, just to generate the depressive activities, just to generate the anger, just to highlight the paranoia, just to highlight the the sort of the sense of injustice, etc., right? Now, that was the one perspective. Now jump to the another perspective, that what are the different effects of the at the individual level. That, let's say, if the terrorist activity happens in a community, then what effects would be seen among the residents of that community, right? So now we are going to highlight the aspects of the terrorist activity at the individual level. uh, One would prefer for the isolation as the negative emotions are at peak. So one would try to hide his or her thoughts from the rest of the other people. Hopefully, just imagine yourself that if someone give you a strong message in the form of action that your life is not safe, if someone give you a strong message that your life is at stake, then what would be your next reaction? Obviously, you will try to isolate yourself. Why try to isolate? Because no one is trustworthy. That's the chief aim of these sort of activities. Obviously, when you become isolated, then there would be a lot of negative thoughts will pop up in your mind, like everyone is against me, everyone is doing the plannings against me, government have failed to save me, my institutions have become compromised, my security institutions have become compromised, I am living in a time zone which is not safe for me, there is a threat to my life. Then all these negative thoughts would come in your mind. Always remember, our behavior is just a product of either it's just a product of our experience. That's it. right? Either it's a direct experience or either it is an indirect experience. Our behavior starts right from a thought. If the thought is positive, if the thought is productive, if I will do the activities which can generate a positive sense in me, then obviously my behavior, my actions would be positive. If let's say due to any reason a negative thought comes in my mind, oh you cannot do it, exam is very difficult, for example, I'm just giving an example, uh, studying behavioral sciences have to be failed, so there is no reason to study. It's a thought, right? When this thought will pop up in your mind, when this thought will come into your mind, then what will happen next? That automatically you will do the negative things. You will not touch your books. Your mind will start generating the argues. Your mind will start generating, giving the reason to you that there is no need to study, right? So in the similar way, when this terrorist sort of activity happens in any society, then as the chief aim is the negative emotions, to generate the negative emotions among the nation. So what happened that because of this negative emotions, a lot of negative thoughts comes into the mind, people's mind, right? So first they will prefer for the isolation, as because of this isolation communication hampered, right? People are not communicating with each other, so everyone have his own theory. Like what happened during this corona pandemic, people went into the isolation, and during the isolation social media was active, right? So everyone start generating a story, because being a human, curiosity is natural. So under this natural instinct of the curiosity, everyone tries to find the exact cause of it. Someone label it as that it's a source of the income for the people. As you guys have read the stories on the social media that the doctors are injecting some the poison to the people, and they are getting around 5 million from the WHO and etc and etc. So these are all the theories. Now people were in lockdown, people were under a threat. So what happened that, and communication become hampered. So after the communication become hampered, there would be a feeling of the hypervigilance. Everyone is so much vigilant, everyone is so much interested in knowing the facts, in generating the theories. Everyone is so much become disappointed from the world that they directly contacted the god, like the azans, after the 10 p.m. Obviously it's written in the religion, but the people started doing the religious practices more, right? And in a similar way, obviously those who are not connected with the religion, they will switch towards the drugs, they will switch towards the secondary activities, listening to the music, etc and etc. And obviously, until unless the communication is not people are not directly communicated by the government, or people are not directly guided, they will have the emotions of the mistrust, the jealousy, the paranoia, and the revenge. Got it or not? Now you got the idea that how this loop is connected with each other. So let me compile this in a nutshell. When the terrorist activity happened, as we said earlier, there is only one aim: to generate the negative emotion in any way, the strong negative emotions. So among the strong negative emotions, the emotion of the paranoia is the most strongest emotion. After the paranoia, you will obviously hide the facts. After the paranoia, you will hide the things from even your own community people, right? So what happened that at an individual level, an individual will go into an isolation. After the isolation, communication will become hampered. When the communication will hampered, there will be a lot of conspiracy theories that this happened, this happened, this happened. This is something which is against the Islam, this is something which is related to the Jews, etc and etc etc. So under this sort of thing, one would become the more vigilant, one will become the negative emotions will become more highlighted. So what will happen, ultimately they will contact the god, as we have studied in the section E, the stages of the that grief, debda, denial, anger, bargaining, and then the increased religiosity, etc. Hopefully this loop is clear. So when the question came in the exam, just remember one thing: the isolation and the negative emotions. Just write down the two keywords. The rest of the story you will write down on your own. There is no need to ratify this thing. There is no need to cram this thing, right? Okay. Now, just project the previous loop which you have seen in the previous slide into the broader level, at the society level. As society is nothing, society is just a compilation of this individuals, right? So what is going on in an individual mind, it's sure that the same thing is going on in everyone's mind. From the corona, all of us have become fearful, right? From the corona, everyone went into the paranoia. From the corona, everyone started believing the similar things. Okay, maybe you guys may do conflict from my thought, but what I'm talking to convey is that everyone went into the paranoia of the similar class people, of the similar society people, except very few individuals, they have the different thoughts. So what happened at the society level, these are the similar things which happened previously at the individual level. In the similar way, a society will go into the isolation. As the member of the society went into the isolation, so the society will go into the isolation. As a member of the society, they become hyper vigilant, so society overall will show the phenomena of mistrust. They overall will show the phenomena of the negative emotions, which is in the form of anxiety, which is in the form of the paranoia, which is in the form of depression, etc. And yes, when the society become isolated, there is no proper communication, there is no proper information system, there is no scientific information. Yes, they will go into the PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, but this will happen at the end of crisis, not during the crisis. PTSD is something, it is just an expansion, it's just the, what I should use the appropriate word. PTSD is just you know, it's just a flashback. It's just a flashback of the accident. It's just a flashback of the incident. That's it. That the people will believe that the similar things had happened. Their sleep will become disturbed. Their day-to-day life will become entrapped. That's it. So hopefully this loop is also clear. So if in exam the question came that what are the different psychosocial aspects at the individual level as well as at the society level, then just keep in mind the effects of the terrorism at the individual level and just project it into the society. These are the similar things, nothing different, right? And what, why the word PTSD is written in the society slide, just because of this reason, that overall society there will be an increased prevalence of this disorder, that the overall this whole society will go into the flashbacks. Now the second perspective is clear. Oh sorry, the previous three things were the first perspective: terrorism, what it is, aim, and the effects, individual level and the society level. Now come to the second point, that what are the different factors which make someone a suicide bomber, which makes someone a terrorist, which makes someone prone to doing such things. Now if you talk about the factors, is the whole topic is clear so far or not, or is there any confusion in the previous slides? Quickly. Okay, good enough. Only one student is participating. No, seriously, what is not clear? Sadia, please write it down. What is not clear? Okay, seriously. Okay, let's jump to the second perspective. What are the different factors which can harbor a person towards such acts, or why? What the international organizations, if I say the true words, and they are looking. What are the different personality factors they are looking for? Right. Okay. Usually, the people who are involved in such activities, and they belongs to the teenagers. As why the teenagers, why they are looking for the teenagers? Because teenage, ranging from the 13 towards 18, it's the right age where we are vulnerable age. Yes, obviously. Why vulnerable? Because we are trying to find the purpose of our life. We are trying to find the, yes, one thing is the physiological changes, adrenaline rush and etc, and second one are the psychological changes. If you just correlate this age with the Erickson's theory, then according to that theory, this is the age where we are trying to attach ourselves with some groups. We are looking in the society that who are accepting us and which group welcome us, etc. So those individuals, unfortunately, yes, exploring learning and trying to attach ourselves with some social group. This is the most hallmark of this age. So those individuals who have find their identity, who have attached themselves with some group, like for example, those students who are good in the study, they become. It's difficult to trap them. But let's imagine a student who have some conflicts at the home, and let's say who have some either apparent deficiency, apparently different from the rest of the other his classmates, his age fellows, or either there are certain, let's say, he has not found himself to be attached, to be accepted by any group. Then this individual will have a strong psychological desire because of this age group, have the strong psychological desire that he should be accepted by some group like his fellows. So what will happen? These the international organizations, or these terrorist groups, they are in search of these people who have low self-esteem, who have low level of acceptance by the society due to any reason, maybe due to broken family, maybe due to bad reputation, whatever. So they are trying to the in search of those people who are in the teenage. Then they are start talking with those individuals, those teenagers, about the different perspectives regarding the country, regarding the patriotism, regarding the religion. Then they are assessing that how much this individual is connected with this society. If the individual is well connected, then they will not do any harm, they will just walk away. If let's say they found that the individual have already the sense of anger regarding the society, regarding the parents, regarding the religion or whatsoever, if they found that the individual have the strong low self esteem, whatsoever the reason, then they will start trapping the individual. I will tell you in the coming slide that what they are actually doing with the individuals. Obviously, no one is no one tries to harm his own country. Everyone is patriot, because the patriotism is something which is rooted in our instincts, right? But there are certain psychological what I should say, that uh, shortcomings which lead us, which make us prone. Okay, let's come to the point that mostly the teenagers, then obviously the females may also become the part. Previously the females were not involved because of the culture, that's it, that's the only explanation. Otherwise, male and female, they have the same psychological needs at this age group. Okay. Obviously the bomber should have, or the terrorist should have the feeling of anger toward revenge, towards the hate, towards his own people. That's very important, as I explained earlier. And then the trainers or the hirers, they will use the emotions such as the apathy, such as the use of certain pharmacological agents, but obviously it's on the later stages. So come to the nutshell, the conclusion: a teenage with a low self-esteem, with the lot of sufferings, and with the lack of acceptance, the most important thing. These are the four only points, which is the initial the initial profile assessment, right? If someone have these 4 points, then he or she can be easily trapped. Okay, let's come to the next thing. Okay, then In the previous slide, we have studied the psychological perspectives. That what should be the personality type, what should be the age group, and what should be the missing things in the one's personality that can make him or her prone to be attracted by such groups, such high terrorist groups. Now let's see some of the social perspectives. The poverty, the illiteracy, if you focus on all these words, you can read all these words, you can take the screenshot, etc. And then only the one thing is clear: under all these words, the sense of negative emotions, the sense of paranoia, the sense of discrimination, the generation of the anxiety is natural, isn't it? Is it na? So in the exam, when the question will come that how you will what are the various factors, what are the various parameters which can turn a normal individual into a terrorist, or what are the factors which can highlight the terrorist activity in any individual, what is the profile of a terrorist. Profile means the characteristics, like the profile of medical students is that they must be hardworking, they must have a dedication, they must have the resilience in them, they must have etc. So these are our profile. So in the similar way, what is the profile of the terrorist people, or what personality characteristics or what psychological perspectives are important in order to transforming someone into a terrorist activity, then we will label it as into the two categories. So while attempting the question, try to do the two headings. One are the psychological perspectives, and in a nutshell, if you want to write down the psychological perspective, then write down only the three words: age group, this thing, low self-esteem, low level of acceptance, more negative feelings towards his own people. That's it, that would be enough. And while considering the social perspectives, so write down all those things which generate the negative emotion in us, which generate the negative sense in us, like the poverty, illiteracy, injustice, disease, whatsoever. Right? I don't think so that these words should be explained in a revision lecture. So let's come to the next thing. That what are the high risk factors? It is just an extension of the previous two slides. That's it. Nothing new in it. Nothing new. Okay, so let's focus on the first two words, the orange box and the gray box. So those homes who have the domestic violence, obviously they are not accepting their own family members, right? So the family members will ultimately, especially the children's, they will ultimately develop a negative sense that there is something wrong, that even my own family is not accepting me, so how can I accept the whole society in the similar way. And those with the homes with the domestic violence, obviously they will have the emotional abuse, they will have the sexual abuse, they will have the physical abuse. And under these negative emotions, one would love to do the law breaking. A teenager who is not accepted by, who is not welcomed by any group, who have the low self esteem, he will try to uprise his self esteem, he will try to be accepted in the society while doing the law breaking. For example, while portraying, while playing the role of a hero, that I am such a person, that I have the such capabilities, that I must show to the people so that they can accept me. Now, got the point? Why teenagers are so much eager to do these illegal things, the smoking, the one wheeling, etc., etc., because the hero complex which is present in our unconscious mind, in all human mind, everyone wants love to enjoy the limelight, right? So this hero complex which is present in our unconscious mind, it suddenly awakes under these conditions, and the individual will try to prove himself in the society, either by doing the illegal things or either doing the legal things. It all depends upon the company. Now the loop till this yellow box is clear. Let's start from this thing, the orange box. Homes with the non-acceptance attitude, for example the violence, etc., whatsoever, poverty, disease, whatsoever the reason, then the individual develops a feeling, the teenagers particularly I'm focusing on it, as a psychological need is to have a group of people that should welcome a teenager. but as a group is not available, so the teenager will assume the role of a hero, as the hero complex is present in every human being, right? Under this hero complex, he will become the victim of conduct disorder. Conduct disorder is nothing. Conduct disorder, as per the DSM 4 criteria, it is the initial form of antisocial disorder. Before 18 years of age, we label it as a conduct disorder, and after 18 years of age, we label it as a antisocial disorder. Hopefully, you know what is antisocial disorder till this stage, I assume. Okay, when when an individual, okay, will become a victim of the conduct disorder, then he will love to do the law breaking. He will love to become a terrorist, right? Because those people are accepting him. This green box, it should be present along with this orange box. That this is the factor which makes someone prone to this disorder. That the limited emotional outlets. Hopefully, this is clear. So, what are the different techniques which these people are using in order to make the better communication? So, the first thing is the ritual communion. Then they will do the bonding. Okay, let me explain in a nutshell of this slide. As I said that international hires, first they will do the scanning. They will scan the profile of the different people. Particularly they are interested in the teenagers. Particularly they are what they are looking. Okay, it's not always that the teenagers are involved. What they are particularly looking is the low self-esteem and the lot of the miseries, the lot of people with the lot of misery, that they're not welcomed by the other people. They are particularly looking for these people. So what they are doing, that first they will build the rapport or the ritual communion. They will talk about the religion. They will more talk about the matter of the personal interest. They will more talk about the injustice. If their target have the more feelings of the injustice, if the target have the more feeling of uh, living is against the religion, etc. So they will first develop a first class the rapport building. After the rapport building, when they feel a bonding, that now the individual that we convince the individual to do the different things. The individual is now doing is working on our ideology. Then this is known as the bonding, the feeling of bonding. Then what will do the psychological investment. What it is? Psychological investments includes the free religious seminars, the free education programs, the free so-called different seminars, different visits to different places, etc. Then the commitment to reaching heaven is basically a term which is derived from the psychological investment. That if the individual have the more trend towards a religion, then obviously they will do the psychological investment as per the religion, etc. Got my point or not? That what is written in this slide is that first they scan the individual as per the previous slide. Teenager, low self-esteem, low acceptance, right? Then they will highlight the misery, that what is the missing part, why this particular individual is not welcomed by the other people. They will highlight that particular thing, and by highlighting those miseries, like for example, you guys are the medical student, and I am a terrorist hirer, right? If I want to hire any of you, then how I will start the communication? I will first start blaming the medical education system or the education system or the particular the environment of your college, for example, because I knew that everyone is become so much fatigued with this environment. I knew that everyone is fatigued with so much with this education system. So what I will do, that I will talk with you guys on all those topics which are against the education system or which are against your institution, right? What would be my next step? To conduct the different seminars, to teach you guys the different techniques. So ultimately, uh, your misery, unconsciously you will attach with me, the hirer, right? So there would be a bond that the command which I will give you, you will unquestionably will obey it, right? So this is known as the psychological investment. So this is how they trap the individuals. Is it clear or not? quickly. Okay, good enough. Now the next thing is that what is the profile, that how what are the this is not basically the profile is basically described in the previous slide. These are the pinpoint sign and symptoms that during the psychosocial history or in your community, if you knew someone, if someone is doing this all these things, then there is a likely chance there is something wrong, there is something, the change in the ideology. Always remember one thing: our ideology is very important for us. Either whatever it is, either it is maybe a religious ideology, it may be a social ideology, any kind, because ideologies is something which is our personality part, and ideology is something which would be a behavior in the future, which would be our actions. So in the similar way, if there are if there are clear signs like the religion, the norms, the values, the different ideologies about someone suddenly starting the violent video games, suddenly avoiding the other people, particularly escaping from the home, particularly starting something suspicious. Let's say if some individual during the psychosocial assessment, he gave you a history that I was a medical student and suddenly I met a person who showed me that the religion is very important as a life is very short. So I start taking less interest in my education, and I start attending the conference, the seminars of that religious personality. Now I am feeling very calm, and I want to leave my study, and I just want to attend that religious seminar, religious practices. And everyone is bad in this world. Everyone, is the agent of the Satan, and I must do efforts with that person to kill all of these individuals. So these are this is the change of ideology. Got my point? If you just in the future, if you just notice such things in your environment or in any individual, then be cautious that there is something wrong, that someone is transforming this person, right? So in the exam, you are not supposed to write these slides in the profile, right? uh, if the question came that what are the signs which can which tells you, which make you suspicious about a person, then these are those signs, right? Okay. Okay, always remember one thing. So all those individuals who are who who become a terrorist, or who are doing such activities, they are not psychologically ill, right? They are the highly intelligent people, they are the sane people, they have their intact capacity, and they're very focused, right? So it is very wrong to say that someone with the psychopathology will become the victim of the terrorist activities or etc. But yes, they they have the more paranoia. Why paranoia? If you just recall the whole lecture, then it will be evident that obviously because they are not accepted by their own peer group, they have the low self-esteem due to any reason, due to poverty, due to injustice whatsoever. So obviously paranoia is natural. Yes, they have the paranoid anxiety. Obviously they have the highlighted emotion of the envy. Envy is our natural emotion, is our primary emotion. So when the society will not accept an individual, then envy is natural, right? Obviously to get rid of this paranoia and to get rid of this envy, he or she will ultimately develop the magical thinking, the defense mechanism of dissociation, the defense mechanism of different defenses, right? Under these different defenses, obviously denial, which is also a defense mechanism, and obviously the denial in the grandiosity, the envy in the grandiosity. Grandiosity means larger. and ultimately, because under all these things, he will develop the depression. You got my point? How this the left side loop is linked, which is shown with the positive sign. Okay, leave it. Okay, this is the third perspective which I talked in the earlier, that now what we should do if the such thing, God forbid, happened. I will describe in just 2 words or 3 words. That's it. Nothing written in this slide. You can study from your textbook, or you can study from this slide whatsoever. There is only three things which we can do. One is the pre-attack, one is the during attack, and one is the after attack. What I'm trying to teach you guys, the third perspective of this lecture. First was the terrorism aims and its effects. Second was the those factors which are linked by the which are linked with the terrorists. That the what is the profile, personality profile of the people who become victim of the terrorist activity. What are the different telltale signs that something is wrong with this individual, or this wrong is being trapped by someone, and what are the different factors at the psychological and social level which can promote such activities, right? Now is the third perspective, that being the healthcare provider, what we can do the three things. One is before such attack happened, that is during the normal days. One is during this attack, and third thing is the after this attack. So the precautionary measures, or before this attack, we have just one job, uh, that if we find someone with these ideology, if we suspect someone who is being tapped by such groups, or if we identify these groups, as we have the knowledge of little bit about the psychology, and we have the knowledge little bit about the social perspectives, as we are the educated people, so it's our responsibility that we should inform someone, the higher authorities. We should breach the confidentiality of the patient, right? Then during this attack, if you are among the team members who are rescuing the people, then it's your responsibility, that what I said earlier, what is the main aim of this sort of activities, to spread the confusion, to spread the negative emotions. Being doctors during these pandemic, for example this COVID-19, what we can do, we can spread the positive words on the social media, that God forbid, why should doctor should inject a, I'm just giving example, the poison to someone for the sake of money. Why a doctor want this, and who is giving the money, right? So during this pandemic, we can do the three things. We can improve the communication among the people, as we are the medical people. It's likely that, not necessary, that the people will more believe what you will say, right? And if you're part of the trauma team, or if you're a part of a team who is dealing with this terrorist activity, then it's your responsibility to connect everyone. It's your responsibility that you should connect all the effectees, all their families, and the other first responders, for example the army, the police, or the firefighters, or whatsoever. How you will connect it? Only one thing: communication. Communication is just the key for the connection. Always remember, C for communication, C for connection, right? So while promoting the communication during all these team members, you can do it. And after this attack, what we can do, let's say if we have a role, let's say if you are the member of a team, what you can do, you must bring the people towards the normal activities as soon as possible. That's it. That's the only role which we can play being a healthcare professional. So pre-op, we can scan people. During, we can improve communication by providing the real-time information, by providing the scientific words, and by connecting, if you are part of a team who is dealing with such activity, by connecting the team members with the family, with each other, right? And last, after this, what we can do, if we have the authority, if the power will be given to a healthcare provider, that we should spread the word, that we should mobilize the people as soon as back to the work. As soon as they will become back to the work, they will start living the normal life, all those negative feelings will start the hampering. Okay, so what is the take home message for you guys? This is the take home message, right? If you have anything which is not clear, either from the exam point of view, either from the topic, so just ask it in the last 3 minutes quickly so that I can answer it. Is everything clear? As usual. Video gaming is that, let's say, if someone suddenly become so if someone suddenly start attracting with the video games of, for example, the money skimming, the video game of suddenly the weapons, and he said that, during the conversation, let's say, if we convince that nowadays I start feeling the change in my ideology, that as I become fail in the exam, so I'm trying, or I'm planning to do the bombing at the university site or at the college site, just like they do in this video game. And then, for example, he say in just humoric way, and start after that laughing, haha, I'm just joking. So this is the clear cut sign that this particular individual uh, is the ideology of this particular individual is now changing, right? But let me tell you one thing very clearly, that no terrorist giving the such pinpoint signs every time. Only the new innocent people who are being trapped by other people, they are giving you this sign, that's it. Otherwise, a trained individual who has been trapped, not being trapped, they will not give you these signs about the weapons, about these negative things, right? So anything else? Okay, then it's 11 o'clock. Thank you so much and take care.